What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Performance Playbook podcast. I've got with us Rafa Quintero. Rafa, how you doing?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Of course. One reason why I felt like I needed to pull you on at some point, and for people that don't dive, just sit back and relax a little bit. But for the divers, kind of uh, feel like you can kind of lock into this. But every time I'd be on 10 meter and we'd be at a meet, I'd be on 10, kind of pissing my pants, and I would just see Rafa walk up and he'd be perfectly dry. And I'm like, are you chucking your whole list right now? And you would just like pop off dives with no lead ups, and it just essentially almost like no warm up in the water. How were you able to do that?
Dude, I forgot about that, honestly. I forgot I did that,
I never
which is
forgot.
weird. It's weird because I was always scared. I mean, 10 meter for me was scary. It was something that kind of never went away. But I think it was just my way of getting all my dives out of the way as quickly as possible. And
Mm,
I mean, I knew I had practiced them a lot during practice. So just going up there, it was sort of easy for me because I knew I had it. But at the same time, I was just like scared of him, so I just wanted to get one or two out of the way and then get going with the meat. But
right.
yeah, that's weird. Yeah, you just reminded me of that.
Well, because I would always go to meets. I'm like, dude, I it would be so efficient if I could walk straight up to 10 meter like Rafa would, and just pop all of my dives off and just be like, all right, cool, ready to go. Everyone's still doing their lineups 5 meter, and I'm just halfway through a list. Like that'd be,
Yeah,
it's so efficient.
it was mostly gainers too. Because like almost everyone does 2.5 off a 5 meter, but I usually just went like doubles on 3 meter and then straight up. I never understood why people like that 2.5 off a 5 meter. No chance. It's so much easier just to do 307 off of 10
Yeah,
meter and just chuck it. But
yeah.
yeah.
So was there initially when you first started doing this, just walking up to 10, was there a, hey, I'm kind of I'm freaking out, or it was like, hey, I know I'm afraid, so I'm gonna go up and just get these off, and it'll help my mind.
Yeah, it was maybe the first one. It was a combination of the both. So I know that I was scared, and I have a lot of respect for 10 meter as well, just because throughout the years I've had my fair amount of smacks and little incidents, like almost every diver that does 10 meter or any event has. Um, but yeah, like I said, I felt like I had done them long enough in practice to the point where like during the competition it was just like I know I have this, so I it's better to just get it out of the way and just go up there and do it. But yeah, it's I feel like diving is also a sport that just kind of taught me how to face my fears. Because you're constantly, I mean, I don't think I know anyone that's not afraid of heights. I feel like it's human nature to be afraid of heights. So um, it's just that moment where you just like face your fear every time you're up there and just like go do your dives.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of something I implemented in the past like 6 months maybe. And I don't know if this kind of connects with you, but I had to stop modeling for my dives because it was starting to tweak me out.
Really?
Yeah, like I would get so reliant on the model. For example, like arm stand for a lot of people, like
Hmm.
it just trying to conceptualize twisting from my hands screws me.
Hmm.
Like, and I can't do it. And so when I stopped modeling, I was like, oh, I'm starting to trust myself because like I'm gonna go no
Hmm.
matter what. I have to when I start falling. And
Yeah.
so the less I modeled, the easier it got, you know? So
Interesting.
that's like kind of my thought when I would always watch you just go straight up to 10. I'm like, dude, I wonder if this little piece that he does almost like forces confidence. Hey, I can just walk up to 10 meter and just uh, do my dives. I might not shred them or I will shred them, but like I'm going to walk up and I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's interesting that you say that um modeling started getting a little difficult for you because that's one of the things that I did the most. I would start visualizing the dive as soon as I started walking up the stairs, and I wouldn't stop visualizing that dive all the way until I went. And it was just like all in my head. I never really did a lot of body movement while visualizing, only for the entry part of it, because that's one of the things that I lacked, or I felt like it was most of my difficulty, like going into the water and like, just ripping it, unless it was backs and reverses. But Um, but yeah, I think I would just visualize all throughout, like going up the stairs, standing on over the edge, and going. But it did happen quite a few times, and I think this was more like nerves or anxiety during competition. But like in my mind, I would start visualizing my dives wrong, like something going wrong in my dive. And I don't know if that ever happened to you, because I know some people that's happened to them as well. And those were times that I don't know, it was kind of weird, but nothing ever happened like that. So that was good. But yeah, I wonder if that's the same thing that was happening to you as well. Like you would start visualizing your dives, like something going wrong, and that can be a little scary too, especially when you're about to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that was my biggest piece. Would I'd be on the edge of 10 meter, shrugged already, so I'm about to fall, and my mind goes,
Yeah.
I don't know how to twist. And I'm starting to fall, I'm like, I don't know how
Oh,
to
no,
twist,
no,
I don't know
no,
how to
no.
twist. And so I'm
No, no,
freaking
thank you.
out.
Dude, no, 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 no. No, thank
and
you.
and so the same thing would happen for back twist. I'd be standing there, I'd get my arms up and I'm about to drop them, and my mind goes, you which way do you twist? Or it's like, because I twist here with the hand, so I'm like, how do I get into the twist? And I'm standing there like starting to get like the horse blinders come down. I'm like freaking out. I'm
Yeah,
like, what am I? And I would have to go. I'm in a competition. I
that's
cannot
true, dude.
go.
I don't know how you did that. I don't know
Yeah.
how you did that. Especially, I mean, you had two and a half twists too, which was way more complicated than what I was doing. Dude, no, no, no.
So
I wouldn't be able to go.
that was the big thing for me. It was like at some point I have to reframe, or I have to change it. And so when I took out modeling, what I did was take it out of my head and put it into my body, because my body knows how to do arm stand. I'm tweaking out. I'm falling as like I'm freaking out as I'm falling for arm stand, and I still do it every time.
That's
So it's
true.
like at some point I just need to shut this down so my body
Yep.
can just do it. And that
That's
was that was
interesting that you
always
say that. Yeah. Your
yeah.
body are also, yeah, it already has the memory of it. Like you don't have to visualize it as much. Like your body knows what to do.
Yeah, it's mechanical. Like that's we do the
Mhm.
same dive a million times and then we walk into a competition. And I don't know if this is similar for you, but like in competition, like while I'm competing, everything gets a hell of a lot easier. But when I'm in the
Mhm.
practices or even in the warm up, my mind's like,
All over the place. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I feel like, yeah, same thing happened to me as well. Yeah, it was
yeah,
like all over the place until a certain point. I feel like it's just getting started. Like for that first warm up, like seeing everyone to like, I think also, and I don't know if this happened to you, but I feel like it happens to a lot of people, is just getting a little intimidated by other athletes as well, doing so well at the same time. Um, I think that also factors into like how you feel and like what your mind is going through as well.
yeah.
Um, but
And I
yeah.
guess that's why I was so enthralled with, we'll call it your method, which was just going straight up to 10, because I'm like, okay, well, I got more confident when I took out modeling, and then
Mhm.
it's like you start minimalizing a lot of these things, and so the more I started taking out, the more confident I got. And this was
Mhm.
I was talking to Karen, our sports psychologist, and
Mhm.
this is how I explained it. I've explained this to a few divers. When you walk up to a land flip, are you modeling? Are you thinking about every little piece? But
Nope.
you usually do it almost perfectly or exactly how you want to do it every single time. And to be honest, the reason why I stopped modeling was I was copying the Chinese. Not to say that they didn't model,
Mhm.
but I didn't see it as frequently, and two, when they walked onto the edge of the platform, I've never seen someone look so damn cocky, and it pissed me off. Like they're like, yup, you're like
The
this is about to be
confidence, yeah.
a, and so I was like, dude, I rarely see them model, and if they do, it's like very very minimal, few little things, boom, they go. And like
Yep.
I would start to notice before I went on the platform, even in a competition, I was like, I need to just let me feel this, the hips and that, and they're just standing there like
Yep.
I'm about to shred this. And so I
That's
was
true.
talking to Karen. I was like, I need to replicate that somehow. And so if I can just start doing these lead ups, and the worst lead up in the world is arm stand 2.5 twist on 7. And
Dude, I would hate that. I feel like I
oh
would go over every single time and
yeah.
or short trying to save it. I don't know, dude. Yeah, it's crazy.
And so I was like, okay, well, if I can not model for the scarier prep, which is the 7 meter, then I should be
Mhm.
fine on 10. Obviously, I'm higher in the stakes, quote unquote, are a little bit, more intense, but the theory there should kind of hold true. And what I did notice was I pulled out the modeling, and then I started just like leaning into these preps that were petrifying, because that prep sucks. It's never great, but that's when I
Yeah.
started to like trust myself. And honestly, like I, I've been kind of interested in trying some of your stuff. Like, okay, I could walk up to 10 meter. Like, how can I microdose what you do? I can walk up to 10 meter and do a 407, a 307, but the other ones I start to 109 have had to do because of my knee. But like,
Yeah.
I at least could do like half of my list, like you did, and like really start to build that confidence. Like, would you ever tell someone like, "Hey, you should actually give this a try"?
I don't think I ever told anyone really. But I think also part of it comes from, in my mind, the dive was the takeoff. Like if there was something off maybe on the takeoff, then it might have been a little bit off on the bottom or whatever. But like in my mind, the whole dive was on the takeoff. So after doing so many flips outside of the water, like land flips, for reverses, backs, fronts, everything, like whatever that felt like, that would just stay engraved in my mind. And I know that if I did that same thing, like you said, the dive would have been perfectly fine. And it's something that I kind of learned throughout the years, and something that Omar kind of taught me, like the dive is in the takeoff. So if you go straight up and down on the takeoff, like it's gonna go straight up and down the bottom. And almost every single time it was actually right. Like the more movement you have on the takeoff, the more movement there's gonna be on the bottom. So all I try to do was focus on that takeoff instead of focusing on the whole dive and on like, okay, let me feel this on the twist, let me feel this on the come out. No, like all those things you do in practice. When you're in the competition, is just focus on that takeoff. The body will know how to respond on the rest of it. So yeah, that's kind of what my thought process was as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of reminds me. I always tell people this, like, diving is a game of starts, which is essentially what you just said. Because it does make,
Yeah,
if you're whippy on the top, it's like you're going to have to do some magical stuff to make sure you don't flop
on the
over.
bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
And
and
there's
like,
some impressive athletes too that just like somehow they do get some whip on the top and somehow they crush it in the end. And I think that's more impressive than doing the dive right, honestly.
yeah. I think the interesting part for me too, when I start thinking about how you could utilize your way of warming up, we'll say, at a competition, is again I go back to the Chinese, and some of the things that I've watched them do is the day before they'll crank out actually a solid amount of 10 meter, and I'll see a good amount of come outs, and then that meet warm up, I don't know if I ever see them on 10 meter. They're always doing 3 meter platform and little stuff, and like I never really see them doing. So it's almost like the inverse of what you do, right?
Yeah.
Like I just need to focus on the starts, and I'm just gonna do it on 3 meter, and then I just go cold up to 10 because like it's just like my flip. I'm just gonna do it perfectly every single time.
Yeah, I agree. And I wonder if that also has to do with like wearing them down less, like on the body as well, because obviously Chinese are known to be top three every meet they go as well, so they know they're going to make it to finals. So I wonder if that also had to do with just resting the body a little bit. Um, but also, I remember um, Tom Daly would go do all his 10 dives as well, or all his six dives from 10 meter, even before the warm up as well. So yeah, I guess it's just different styles, different ways of training. But that's true. The Chinese mostly just did lead ups and didn't really take their dives right before the comp.
Yeah, and I have this story that I have just like built into my brain, which kind of felt like it started to connect with what you did. It was World Cup in Tokyo, right before the Olympics, and
Yeah,
so we're all
February. It
there.
was around this time, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're all there. There's a million people there trying to get their spots, right?
Hmm.
And this is during the synchro competition. So like you're trying to like scream so Dins could hear me, and
Yeah.
Dins can lean into this story. It's kind of hilarious, but um, to this day, it's probably the best dive we've done. But so we're standing there on 5 meter. We're doing we're doing gainer 2.5 to prep for gainer 3.5,
Yeah,
and
crazy.
it's so loud, and like I'm screaming. There's someone going right next to me on 1 meter. There's people going off like the 7 and 10, and it's just like so much was happening. I say go. We both go. I end up just getting completely rattled. I go and kick out at a 1.5, and then I'm like, I I panic at the 1.5 for some reason. Instead of just lining it up, I pike over and staple. And we have no time. We had one prep for that. That was it. And so I had to go up to 10 with that.
Thinking
And
with, yeah, dude, that's
after
tough.
after stapling on 5 meter, and the coaches are watching me like, what the hell was that? And Dins came out like,
Yeah.
God, what? Please don't tell, like, what is going on? And so we go to 10, and I remember, just because there's so much adrenaline, I remember looking at him going, just wait, like, this is going to be one of the best gainer 3.5s I'll ever do. For some reason, I was like, I've
You
got
felt
this.
confident.
Yeah, I got this on lock, even though I just ate shit on 5 meter.
Yeah. Good, good. That's good.
And so we went up to 10. We went up to 10. Hands down, the best gainer 3.5 we've both ever. It just disappeared. And I was like,
Nailed
okay.
it.
And so it's like, it isn't about the prep. The prep's about your mind. It's not like there's nothing really about it. Sure, physical, but again, I've said this in other podcasts. The body follows the mind.
Yep. I agree.
So
I agree.
if the mind's like, bro, I fuck a lead up, go to 10, then it's like you're
Yep.
already in a good spot. And so, yeah, I really wanted to touch on that for at least a little bit, just to, like, if divers are listening to this, like, maybe if you are afraid, make it scarier, because you're almost like you need to induce that fear to make it less traumatizing being on 10 meters, because 10 meters is petrifying in the first
It
place.
is.
And
Yeah.
this was another thing we talked about in another podcast, but I don't know if you've ever done this. At one point, I was getting so sick of 10 meter being terrifying for me. I was like, okay, like, let's start doing flips and doubles. Flips aren't scary, but like a front flip kind of freaks me out. And then I was like, all right, well, let's do doubles. Let's do back doubles, gainer doubles, front doubles. We didn't do inward double because I was like, dude, I
Wait,
don't want to,
from where?
from 10 meter.
From 10-meter doubles? You're
And so,
crazy, man.
well, I was like, 10 meters, and I always tell people this, but 10 meters still terrifies me. Like, always scares the shit out of me. And so it's like, if I can walk up on the 10 meter and feel like, yeah, like, I've smacked from a double and it didn't hurt that bad. Okay, well, maybe if I smack on this, or if something happens, I'm fine. And so I can actually, like, focus on my cues and my corrections more so, instead of just being like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God,
Yeah.
And so
That's so, yeah.
that was a big piece for me, is like, well, you can start to, like, simulate the amount of fear that you'll feel in, like, either this warm up or just being on 10 meter in general, by just microdosing it in smaller bits. Have you ever tried that?
Yep. Yeah, honestly, that's interesting that you say that. Yeah, I feel like just exposing yourself to what makes you um whatever you're scared of, like, will definitely help you get used to it, but you don't get fully used to being up in 10-meter and doing like all those dives. I wonder if honestly if there's anyone that's just not scared to go up to 10-meter and do their dives. Especially like at this level too, like Olympic level where your dives are actually pretty hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the power of exposure and just like facing your fears constantly definitely helps getting a little bit used to. And at the end of the day, I think I was grateful that I was maybe a little bit anxious or a little bit nervous of doing my dives, because that got my adrenaline
Yeah.
going, gave me that like little boost that I needed to like really crush my dives in the bottom. And maybe there were some dives that I had a hard time making, like 109, like from 4.5. And that little bit of adrenaline, that little bit of nervousness helped me just really, really get it down and really go after it. So yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, it's not the best feeling, but at the end of the day, I'm grateful that I was still a little bit scared because it did help me a lot during competitions.
Yeah. I remember, and I'm gonna have to get him on the podcast at some point, but I did like a student film uh with Red Bull on, like, the Red
Oh,
Bull
hell
cliff
yeah.
divers, and like it was all about them smacking. And
Oh,
yeah, and so it's like, how, I mean, we can smack off 10 meter and it hurts like crap, and you can have some bad things happen to you. But like, if you smack on 27, like, you're going straight to the hospital. It's not like, hey, we don't care how you feel. Like you're going there because you might have internal bleeding.
Honestly, the nice thing about the 27 meter, and I mean I say nice, but it's not, there's nothing nice about it, is like if you smack, you're just gonna pass out and you're gonna wake up in the hospital. You don't have to deal with anything that happens in between. Um, I don't know how those guys do it, to be honest, dude.
Yeah,
Much respect to them because
yeah,
it's insane.
yeah. And I think the some of my favorite parts about it though is they're so smart about dealing with fear though, and how they're able to, like micromanage it within the moments. And so
Mhm.
Andy Jones said this very profound line to me that I was like, damn, dude, like I have to use that. Like I'm an idiot if I don't use that. And so he was talking about understanding when the fear comes in and expecting
Yeah.
it. And so he brought up my exact position, but he was like, if it's about when you're dropping down and your arms are about to swing through, and that's where you're like, and that's when you feel the fear. He was like, expect that to come, so you
Yep.
at least know that, hey, I'm gonna freak out right here, but I still
Yep.
have to like at least I know it's coming, and I won't do something completely out of the ordinary.
That's true. That's true. When you took that breath, it really took me back because it's
You
like
know,
it would happen sometimes. As soon as you start swinging your arms, your breath just kind of like stops for a second, or you take like this big deep breath and you forget everything about your dive, and you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? That's usually when you like mess up too. So it's like you said, it's very important to just kind of expect when it's gonna come.
yeah. Yeah, and so it's just like learning from these guys and kind of, like nibbling on those pieces of advice. You're like, dude, that is huge, and especially again, like I'll probably I have a little mock meet. I'm gonna dive at Purdue's invite that we have tomorrow,
Oh,
and yeah,
awesome.
I guess people are gonna be listening to this in the future, so I'll have to let you know how it goes in the comments or something. But so like we do like a wake up dive in the mornings. So like I'll go
Mhm.
way earlier. I'll do a warm up, and then I'll do like two lineups, maybe one dive off 10 and get out. And then I'll come back
Mhm.
for the actual warm up. And so maybe I'll try 407 tomorrow morning with no 405 to start to like poke at that,
Yeah.
and feel that. Cuz I think again, walking back to it really quickly though, it's like if you think about it, we do this whole warm up and take out if you were diver number one, right? And you did, let's say you did that dive or at least did the lead up right before that. But like you're essentially doing everything cold with no warm up,
Mhm.
So
Yep.
like all you're doing is just starting to perfect that. Like I think the funny part for me was like it was a blessing and disguise, but my 109, like because of my knees and how bad they've been for so long, I
Mhm.
like literally had to learn how to chuck a front and land on my head and make
Yeah.
it like an effective dive still. And so
Yep.
that ended up like helping me out essentially.
Yeah. But honestly, could you chuck any dive without doing flips outside of the water though?
So like in dry land and stuff like that.
Like in dry land, yeah.
Mm,
Because I feel like that's something that I had to do all the time. I could chuck any dive as long as I did the lead up
mm,
like outside of the water, just like
yeah,
flips or whatever, like two or three
yeah,
of them. Like I feel like
yeah.
it's hard to just like go up there and just chuck it without doing anything.
Like literally cold.
Literally chucking it cold turkey.
But like essentially though, if you think about it, going back to like the World Cup, there are now World Championships. There's four World
Mhm.
Championships instead of World Cup, World Champ, whatever.
Yeah, all
Whatever.
that changed. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, like unless you did this in your warm up before you went and did your dive, like you are doing that without a dryland warm up. Like once you're in comp, most people don't do like dryland flips. Some people do. Sometimes I have before, but you're walking up the 10 meter and just doing the dive cold, literally. So I
Yeah.
feel like I'm not saying I could do that as like a practice, and I don't know how like efficient that would be for like making sure you can kind of like really do your dives effectively all the time in training. I'm assuming you did
Mhm.
like a solid amount of lead ups before you went up to 10 for practice too,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think if you can try to, I think you would have to like cut out time though and within practices at some point and be like, okay, I'm gonna do a few lineups and I'm going straight to 10.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to test that. That's gonna be petrifying, and I'll let you know how that goes.
Good
But
luck with that. Honestly, let me know how it goes.
Okay,
I'm
so then for
curious.
yeah, 207B, I'm gonna be like pissing down my suit. That's gonna be great.
Dude, actually, maybe just do it for that one.
Yeah, yeah. I did want to get to, and I've been interested to kind of ask some Olympians about this, but walking walking to your career, did you ever feel like after the Olympics you took like a huge mental dip, or did you have a pretty like even keel? You were good with the experience, and you just kind of you kept going along, kept grinding.
Yeah, and I know this happens to a lot of athletes too, that mental dip, but to be completely honest, I didn't experience that at all.
Yeah,
Um, and like after 2016, I felt like I was even hungrier to like do more and do better, and I placed seventh place and after Rio, so I was like, oh my gosh, like made the finals, placed decently well. Like I think this is something that I could keep doing and place even better next time around. So I felt hungrier to do better. And after 2021, even though I didn't place as I wanted, because of the whole COVID and training less. I like started my job as well at the same time, so it's a little bit more difficult to put in all the hours and all the focus into diving. I was ready to move on at that point,
yeah,
So it didn't really take that big of a toll on me or my mind.
yeah. And I we will get to the moving on part, but I do want to. I was interested if there was any specific points within your career, let them be like a great situation or like trials and tribulations esque moments that like you really were like, hey, I just learned like crazy from that. Like my thing was like I got 19th at NCAA's, and it just like clicked first like right after that when I
Which
came back.
which year?
That was it was at Texas. So I think
What
you
did
were
you
already
miss? Because I feel
everything,
like there's no way
everything.
you missed everything.
Everything. It was just so bad. I killed myself. And so that learning curve for me was like super important. I have another big one which was like when Dins and I didn't get the synchro spot
Mhm.
at that World Cup. And so like those two
Yeah.
dips for me like coming up like after the NCAA I got 8th at World Champs.
Hmm.
And so that was like a big switch for me. After Dins and I didn't get the synchro spot, I made it to the Olympics, but like those two like up curves, like it was a lot of pain and it was a lot of like self reflection. Did you have
Yep.
any? Did you have any moments like that for you that you're like, okay, let's go?
I feel like diving is just constantly learning and learning through practice, through competition as well. And like there's always, or at least for me, I've never had a 100% list. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I've never been fully satisfied with my list at any competition, not a single one. Like there's always something that I can nitpick or something that I can always do better. And like I was never satisfied. And that's something that it's a little bit draining, not gonna lie. Like not being conformed with like how you perform no matter what happened, it's a little bit draining, but at the same time, I'm grateful for that mentality as well because it definitely helps you get better.
Yeah,
And I feel like I am a perfectionist, so it's like for me, it was constantly learning what I was doing wrong and like how I could make it better. Um, but as far as competitions that kind of just helped me wake up even more, I would say almost all NCAA competitions for me. There were plenty of chances where I could have gone first place on the 10-meter event and even the 1-meter event as well, and it just never happened for me. I would always miss that one dive, and it was always backs. It literally both times that I was like I was really close to winning the championship, I would miss my back, which was my second to last dive as well. Every single time, and it was always the same dive.
hmm,
Um, so yeah, I don't know. And you would think it would help me next time, but I guess it didn't. It's just like my mind knew it was that dive, and it would just happen on that dive every single time.
yeah,
But yeah, I think it's important to just kind of, just learn from every little thing and always nitpick your dives and never really be satisfied
yeah.
to a certain point. To a certain point.
Of course, yeah, yeah. What cracks me up is how there's some like very high performing divers that just could not put it together at NCAA's. And I'm obviously I throw myself into there because like I was in positions like that. I'm like, dude, I should have won this one and this one. And it's like you just shut
I know
like
when
for
you
some
when you
huh?
told me you got 19th, I was like, dude, there's no way. Like, there's no way. You're usually just like top five almost every single time. So it's just like, if not top three.
Yeah, my mind just
So
yeah, it's just funny, but like every time I go to NCAA's, I'm like, I have to win, I have to win. You know, it's that
I think that's what it is. It's like you put so much pressure on yourself about because you know you can, you know, so you know you can win for sure. So I think that adds a little bit of more pressure.
yeah,
But but like you perform so well with that pressure sometimes too.
yeah, for sure.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
good.
yeah. Would you say there's any of these little pieces that you've learned? Let's say just maybe from springboard, but I feel like 10 meter is a very good teacher. Um, you know, have you seen that bleed into life outside of diving?
Um, definitely. Um, yeah, yeah. And I mean, like I said, like I feel like I'm a perfectionist in everything that I do as well. And so everything for me is like do everything as best as possible. Do everything like, you know, as best to your ability. Um, but yeah, and at the same time also it's helped me with facing my fears as well and just like saying, you know what, let's just do it. No matter what, and just facing everything when it comes head on. So I think that mentality definitely still stays with me from diving, and I like it. And everything seems less scary
Yeah,
compared to
yeah,
diving. So like I feel like once you're a diver and then you leave that and you start doing other things, everything is way less scary. So you feel a lot more confident about yourself and like your abilities, no matter what.
yeah.
So yeah.
I took like a 4 month pseudo retirement after Tokyo,
Mhm.
and I don't know if you kind of do this like a similar thing, but like I had to like find that fear again. Like I was like starting to crave it. I was like, it's getting a little boring without it. Like I kind of
Yeah.
need this. Like lifting weights is sick unless I'm going for like a 1 rep max. Then I start to I'm like, oh shit, like this is kind of scary.
Yeah.
Um, do you feel like you have to like search for that or get that? Do you get that in CrossFit?
In CrossFit, I love it. But I don't, it's not the same thing. It's definitely not. I feel like in diving, it was more, I can't say it was stressful all the time. But it was more of like a stressful mindset and like anxious mindset. And that's what helped me perform. CrossFit, I just fully enjoy it. Like I love doing it and I love challenging myself and I love dying a little bit every time I do a workout. So it's very different. Um, and again, like it's not really scary for me. Maybe like Olympic lifting, like Olympic lifts, like snatches and cleans when I go really heavy, just because it's like dangerous. But at the same time, it's not the same type of fear. As far as do I crave that type of fear again? Nah, I don't think so. I'm much more at peace right now. You're a different breed, but yeah, I'm much more at peace right now without that type of fear in my
Yeah,
life.
yeah. I was so like you've got CrossFit. My thing for once I'm done diving was I was like I have to climb. Like rock climbing is the cream of the crop for me,
Oh,
and
dude, that's awesome. Yeah.
so much fun. But like that's I couldn't find anything until like I got I was probably you're on like this. It's called the roof. You're kind of like climbing upside down, and I'm doing this
Okay.
thing called a heel hook. So like my heels on a like on the
Okay. Yeah.
climbing thing.
It's
Yeah, and
yep.
I'm like kind of upside down, and I look down. I'm probably like 12, 13 feet up, and I was like, "Ooh, I feel it." I was like,
Nah.
if I mess up here, I was like, if I mess up here, I'm screwed. Like I'm falling pretty far.
You're really screwed if you mess up from there.
Yeah, and so I was like, oh, I feel this again. And then I started feeling it again when I started climbing outdoors. Because then it's like I'm not
Hmm.
hitting water, I'm hitting the ground.
Yeah.
And so I
Yep.
started to feel that even heighten even more. And I was like, uh-huh, this is it. Like
Yeah.
this is my
This is
this
it.
is
This is it.
this
I'm close.
yeah.
Do you go bouldering or do you do just
Top rope.
like top rope? Is that what you call it?
Yeah, so there's the one where you're kind of like belayed in a rope and you just climb up, and then
Okay.
there's the bouldering, which is no rope.
No
But
rope. Yeah.
yeah, I'm a big fan. I don't like the top rope's sick, and I think I'd probably be more into it if I had like the right, people or gym near me. But
Yeah.
I love the simplicity of bouldering, and I like not being strapped in. It makes it a hell of a lot more intense for me.
Makes
Cause
it
like
more fun. Yeah.
yeah, and like I don't want to belay just smashing my nuts. It's really annoying, you know.
Yeah.
Just I don't want it. So yeah. So it's like the bouldering was like my big thing once I was done. And I think
Yeah.
that's one big thing for athletes stopping that kind of deal with that dip is like if you can make sure you have another thing like
Mhm.
athletic wise, like movement wise, your mind
Yep.
will just keep moving in the right direction. But if you stop everything, it's just like straight down
Yep.
and
I
you're like,
agree.
I'm not the same person. You're like, you're not, I
Yeah.
guess.
And I think that's great too. Like it's good to keep yourself challenged, and like trying new things, keeping yourself busy as well.
Yeah,
All those things are great, especially after diving. Like I said, diving can be a stressful sport, very high anxiety sport. So like once you get to that point and then coming down after that it's different. It's different. So
yeah,
yeah, you already tasted the pinnacle of like what it feels like. So you wanna keep it going for sure.
yeah. Uh, the one thing I was thinking about, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this is true, but like diving, it's high anxiety when you're on 10 meter. But when you think
Yeah.
about CrossFit, and this is just me kind of assuming I've seen CrossFit stuff, but I've never done it myself because it looks horrendous. Like you're more so fearful or anxious of the workout you're about to do. Am I
Yeah.
right? Am I kind of like hitting on it? You're like, oh shit, like dude, this workout looks so
Yeah.
like I'm gonna die.
Yeah, exactly. Like right before the workout, you know you're gonna die regardless. Because like, and especially if you're competitive like me, you're definitely gonna want to give it your all whenever you're doing the workout. So you know you're gonna die regardless beforehand. So
Yeah,
you know it's gonna be bad, no matter what. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I think CrossFit is more scary in the way that you also think of injuries as well. So
yeah,
it's like whenever you're doing like heavy load, you start thinking about, oh, like if I don't do this right, like it's gonna hurt, you know?
yeah.
So I think it's more scary in that way, for sure.
What pulled you into CrossFit? Because I feel like most people are like, it's surprisingly enough, I feel like divers would be pretty good at CrossFit, just specifically for like the handstand part.
Yeah, like the gymnastics abilities and stuff like that. I feel like divers would be good at that for sure.
But the cardio, good luck. That's gonna suck.
Cardio's not there. Cardio's not there. Yeah, it's taken me a while, and I'm still building on that endurance for sure.
Yeah,
Because it's not there. But yeah, a lot of the gymnastic stuff is very similar, or like easy to pick up if you were a diver or a gymnast.
yeah,
But yeah, as far as Olympic lifting and endurance and like all the machines and stuff like that takes a little bit of time.
yeah,
But yeah, I would say the lifting and the weight load is the hardest thing, and it's one of the things that takes the longest as well to build up. Could take years to be elite level
yeah.
for sure.
What pulled you into it? Like, did you see Matt Frazier and you're like, I'm him. Like that's me.
Dude, I don't know. This is funny because I don't know if this happens to you as well, but when I was a diver, I didn't watch diving
Mm.
like at all. Like I didn't like watching diving. I didn't really follow that many people except this Russian dude, I forgot his name now. Dimitri.
Oh, okay, yeah. Dimitri
Yeah, so
Salami.
I used to like watching his videos, but other than that, that would be the only one. And the same thing is for CrossFit. Like I don't really watch CrossFit or any of the competitions or anything like that. I just like doing it. But yeah, I've always liked to be fit and like do things that challenge me and push my body to like its limit. So I thought CrossFit was perfect for that. And I also had a teammate who started CrossFit after diving as well, and I was close with her, and she kind of just like pulled me in as well to do CrossFit, and I was like, all right, you don't need to convince me because I already want to do it. So, but yeah, that's when I started and just fell in love with it, and
Yeah,
yeah, still
yeah,
going now. It's
yeah.
been
Hell
two
yeah.
years.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Damn. I think the other piece that I was kind of interested in too is like there's a feel to like to what you do, right? So like as a diver, like yeah, my traps get sore after 10 meter, but like I'm thinking like a feel as in like what you feel like consistently with our type of weight training, and you feel light, nimble, and fast. Do you
Yep,
feel like a huge difference? Like, do you feel a little bit clunkier now that you do CrossFit? Like, I'm assuming you've gained a
dude.
good amount of size too.
Yeah, I've gained like wow, prime diving. I was remember for Rio, I was 168 and I'm 190 now.
Damn.
So so yeah, and I mean I would fluctuate between 168, 173, and I'm like consistently 190, 195 now. And I feel so much heavier. Like I can feel it when I run, I can feel it when I jump because we do box jumps, we do a lot of box jump overs as well and get overs, and I can definitely tell the difference. Like I feel like a rock now, I'm not gonna lie. Weightlifting's gotten better, the gymnastics has gotten better too, even though I'm a little bit heavier. But yeah, whenever I run, just moving feels a lot different. I do
Do you?
miss that from diving. It was
Yeah.
nice feeling like light and, you know, very agile. I don't feel like that anymore.
Do you almost feel kind of not healthier in a sense, but just like more sturdy and like I
Yes, yes,
less likely to
definitely.
get hurt? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I think
100%.
that's interesting too, because I start to think about that with like the amount of mass that you put on and then the amount of
Mhm.
volume that you guys do. It's like you either get like very solid or you have like chronic issues and kind of you start to like fall apart. Um,
Yeah,
have you noticed
and it
any
it it
issues
does
pop
it
up?
does happen. Yeah,
Okay.
and I already got meniscus surgery on one of my knees too.
Damn.
But at the same time, like I also know why it happened. Before that, I didn't really work too much on the little muscles or anything like that. It's something that I did used to do when I was a diver, but kind of stopped doing with CrossFit just because it's so draining when you're done. You don't want to do anything extra. You're just like, all right, let me just stretch a little bit and let me go home.
Yeah.
Like I just want to be in my bed. Um, but yeah, it's something that I started working a little bit more after that.
Mhm.
And it's been better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, your joints are gonna hurt. You're gonna be hurting every once in a while, but it's always important to work on that mobility and work on just those little things, and not just for CrossFit. I think that's important for everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Straight up. So have you lost most of your diving mobility? Like, can you still do like a pike position pretty easily or like front splits or?
Yeah, pike. Uh, I don't know. I feel like my back has gotten really strong, and it's a little bit harder now to bend like that. But I can still do it for sure. But it definitely doesn't look the same way it used to. But I can do my splits still,
Let's
both of
go.
them.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
both of them. Honestly, I feel like my splits have gotten better because I do them a lot now too. Because I don't want to lose that. But yeah, I can still do the splits, pike, straddles, stuff like that. Yeah, I still got it. My shoulders though, that's definitely one thing that's gone down the drain for sure.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
mobility is definitely not the same there.
Yeah. Do you feel like you gain most of your mass in your upper body once you?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I used to be banned from doing upper body in the weight room. Like it was just like core, legs, core, legs, core, legs. I would never really do upper body because I would get too big, and you don't want to be too big in diving, especially for platform because
Yeah.
that's when most of the splash happens when you go into the water.
Yeah.
So I was really happy after that to actually start doing a lot of upper body. So yeah,
Yeah.
most of it has been upper body, like chest, shoulders, and back.
Yeah. So when you're looking at a CrossFit workout, I'll need you to walk me through this because I've seen you do so many different types of workouts, and like
Yeah.
even on the side of cardio, like you're either swimming, you're running, assault bike, the rower. Like there's so many different things. Is that like, hey guys, today we're doing this because maybe a competition has this, or like what is that? How do you plan that?
So it's a little bit of both, and there's different programmings in the CrossFit world as well. There's Mayhem, there's Comp Train, there's HWPO, which is Matt Fraser's programming. So there's these different big brands of programming as well, and they just give you workouts every day for a whole week, even Saturdays and Sundays. And you follow different ones. So my gym here, they do Mayhem affiliate, and then I also have like the Mayhem compete version, which is if you want to compete in CrossFit and you want to do well, which is like doing like the open, quarterfinals, semifinals, and the games, which is what the season consists of, um, then you follow that, and that's what I follow. And you have a combination of weight training, you have a combination of cardio, and you have a combination of also the workout of the day, which switches off um, most of the time. And yeah, and you combine rower with weightlifting and then some gymnastics movements, or sometimes they kind of isolate the shoulders, and so you do a lot of double unders, handstand push-ups, and then maybe muscle ups. So yeah, it depends on the day, but it's mostly someone that puts those workouts together, and you follow them.
So it's essentially controlled chaos, is what.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much.
Where do you feel like on the cardio sense? Like what's the hardest for you? Is it the swimming, the salt bike rower? What does that look like?
So swimming is definitely hard. And I've told this to a lot of people, like being a diver, a lot of people confuse diving with swimming.
Yeah.
But being a, yeah, you've probably gotten it a lot too. But being a diver doesn't help that much in swimming at all. Like it's a completely different animal. So I would say the hardest one cardio wise is swimming, but everyone else is so bad at it that you just train a little bit for it and it's not that bad. You'll still die, but in comparison to everyone else, is not too bad.
Yeah.
But one that a lot of people are really good at, and it kind of sucks for me, is row. The
Mm.
rowing is definitely the hardest, and most people that the people that are tall are really good at the rowing just because they can pull the cable a lot further.
Oh.
Same with the ski, and then the bike. If you're taller, it's like shorter movements of the arms,
Mm.
so it's a little bit easier for them. So definitely being tall has an advantage on the machines as well. And I'm 5'9", which is like I don't know, a little below average. So it's like it's a little bit harder for me to do the machines for sure. So I would
Yeah.
say yeah, that would be the hardest part.
Yeah.
And
What
that's definitely my weakness in CrossFit as well. I would say gymnastics is my best, weightlifting second, and then machines comes in third.
got it. What do you think sets people apart? Like the Matt Frasers, how do you get up there?
Weightlifting. That's
Oh,
what
really?
sets people apart. Yeah, and Matt Fraser, I mean, I don't know too much about him. I don't know how good he was at weightlifting, but that's what his background was. He was an Olympic weightlifter. So I would say the two hardest things to build up or get good in CrossFit is weightlifting and gymnastics, but I think weightlifting takes longer than gymnastics. So if you have a solid weightlifting background, everything else you'll pick up really quick. So if you can already lift heavy weights, that's is what's gonna set you up. And I feel like that's why he was also very successful in CrossFit because he was already an Olympic weightlifter, and he was good at it. Like he was decently good. So you already had that, so you just have to work on everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like in my mind watching that, I'm like, okay, well the easiest for sure is like to gain is like aerobic capacity. Like just the cardio stuff sucks, but like the more you do
Yeah.
it, like there's technique to swimming obviously, and that will greatly
Hmm.
help you there, but like you're not always swimming. And like a lot of it's
Yeah.
just like put your head down and fucking grind.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And you see progress really quick too with like cardio and endurance, you know.
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
progress really quick compared to
Yeah.
everything else.
I feel like the other piece that I was kind of interested in is the whole nutrition side, and I don't know if you kind of like focus like crazy on that because it's like diving you had to make sure you weren't in like a huge surplus of calories or like you're gonna gain weight. We're not moving like CrossFit, so like you're not gonna burn that
Yeah.
off. But like
Yeah.
I'm assuming you get to smash food now, which has to feel kind of good.
Yeah, kind of. It does, but I feel like with diving, I didn't think about it too much. Especially because I did it from when I was 15 till 25. So it was like I was younger, I could eat whatever I want no matter what and still be somewhat lean and good to go. But I definitely did watch closer to the end, I did watch what I ate a little bit more and try to eat less for sure, just to kind of stay light and be able to perform well on platform. For CrossFit, I started, yeah, definitely when I first started, I wanted to inhale everything in my way. Um, but you get really bulky if you do as well. So So that's something to watch out for sure. But as I've gotten older, like I'm 29 now, I don't know, my body just doesn't want to eat as much. It's a real thing. You definitely eat less once you get older.
Mm,
So I don't eat as much anymore. And it's weird because I see my roommate who also does CrossFit and you see him just inhaling these giant plates of food and it's like, man, I used to do that and there's no way I could do that now. So
interesting.
so yeah, I just kind of try to eat as healthy as I can, but I don't really follow macros or
Okay.
anything like that. I've tried a couple times and it's just like too time consuming for me. I'll probably
Yeah.
do it again at some point in the
Yeah.
future, but not right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, and then the other piece there was like, like it's necessary to like fuel properly on comp day, right? For
Hmm.
diving and like even a practice. But
Yeah.
now you're looking at a CrossFit workout or a CrossFit competition. You're like, dude, if I don't fuel, I'm screwed. Like screwed. You could be kind of tired. You can be kind of hungry while you dive, and I kind of like that sometimes. But like,
Yeah.
if you're underfueled for a CrossFit workout or a competition, I'm like, dude, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Is that like even on like electrolytes and stuff? Have you kind of like run into that?
Yeah, I feel like you said you like having somewhat an empty stomach when you dive.
Yeah.
I like the same thing in CrossFit, honestly.
Okay.
So I'll probably just eat like a banana or maybe like two hard-boiled eggs or something like that, and then be good to go. As long as I stay hydrated, I feel like everything else um, kind of just stays put together. But yeah, to me, hydration is very important because it's one of the things that I forget the most. I can go literally a full day without drinking a sip of water. I don't know
Yeah.
how I do that, but I'm really bad at drinking water, and that's one of the things that I kind of have to remind myself to do all the time. But yeah, I just have to remember on staying hydrated and then just feeling light because I feel like that's when I feel my best.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of crazy to me because I watch some of the workouts that you post and some of the stuff that you're doing. I'm like, dude, it's kind of crazy because like the anaerobic capacity work for like I've done some of that too with like the assault bike or just like a watt
Yeah.
bike. And
Hmm.
my God, you want to die just doing that. Like I've never like dude that lactic acid that builds up in your quads and like
Dude, yeah.
oh
The bike is the worst. The Echo
oh
bike, the
my
assault bike is the worst.
it just it's hell for me. It's a living hell for me. And
It is
you
for
guys
everyone. You're not the only one there.
because you guys stack on other things on top of that too, right?
Yeah, yeah. The other day we did assault bike or echo bike. They're like slightly different, but let's just call it assault bike for now. Assault bike and wall balls. So it's wall ball is you do a squat and then you throw 20-pound ball or 30-pound ball up in the area. And that just paired with the assault bike is insane. Yeah. So you have your heart rate up. So the assault bike gets your heart rate up and then gets your legs going as well as your shoulders, and then you have to use your legs as well and your shoulders on the wall balls. And yeah, it'll get you.
I will say though, it's like it is crazy to me. You guys do so much, not just power work, not just like capacity, let that be anaerobic or aerobic work. It's like you guys hammer into everything. So I feel like if you were like, hey, Rafa, we need you to run a marathon today, you'd be like, I could pull it off.
Dude,
Like,
I've thought about that actually. Now that you mentioned that, I've thought about that. Could I run a marathon with just the CrossFit training that I've done?
right?
I
And
would
it's like,
finish it 100%.
yeah.
I don't know how well I would do it, but I would finish it. But I also think there's that the mindset goes into that as well.
But
But
that's what
yeah, I
CrossFit produces. That like you're so used to being in the suck that like you could probably pump out a marathon.
and pushing through like just being in pain. Yeah, I think so
Yeah.
too. One thing that I don't like about, and it's not that I don't like it about CrossFit, it's just I don't like how I feel when I do CrossFit is very, it's not very detail oriented. Diving is like everything is just very technical, very detailed, and when you do lifting, it is in a way. Um, but it's mostly just like just go do it. Like you could be dead, you could have the worst posture, you could have the worst technique, or you're just still grinding there. And that's one of the things that I don't love about it. Um, but everything else I do. But yeah, that's one of the things that I do miss from diving, how detail oriented it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that was one of the things I was trying to like poke at though is the difference between how you felt as a diver versus as like a CrossFit athlete because I feel like I could put you into a marathon situation or an Olympic lifting or even potentially like a powerlifting scenario and you would do pretty great at all three of those, you know? Like
Mhm.
you've put in the work, you have the volume, right? Like you have the mass behind
Yeah.
you now, but like you also have
Mhm.
that mindset and that grind that like most other athletes are like, no, no, I'll dive later,
Yeah.
which is a cool thing to have behind you. Like
Yeah.
I feel like so just like walking around, you're just more prepared for other
Mhm.
things. And I think that's the piece I'm like, all right, well, like CrossFit's kind of sick in that sense.
Yeah, it's very well rounded. So I do like that. I do like
Yeah.
that a lot.
Do
But I
you?
could not do Ninja Warrior anymore. I probably could have been able to do Ninja Warrior or something similar to that when I was a diver compared to now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you notice that translation if you were doing like any other sport? Let's say if you were playing like pickleball, you're like, I'm ruining people because I can go forever compared to them.
Yes, yes. I did feel that. I did go play pickleball this during winter break right now with my family and yeah, I could have gone forever and you could have
Yeah.
seen my sister and everyone like dead sweaty. I mean, I was sweaty too, but I could have gone literally for 2 more hours probably and everyone was just
Yeah.
like
Yeah. You just like you literally just don't gas out.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially when you have those little breaks, and that's one of the things, like just a minute rest is good enough for any CrossFit athlete.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy. So then we walk into the mental side of CrossFit. In my mind, it's learning. It reminds me of like you get everyday microdose of like Goggins in your ear, right? Like you have to be like forced to push
Almost.
through, right? Like you just
Yeah, yeah.
embracing the suck. Do you now take out diving? Do you feel like that's pretty well translated into life outside of CrossFit? Like, do you have a different type of chill in different scenarios?
Um, yes, yes. And I can definitely see it when I work as well. And I don't know if a lot of people feel like this, but to me, work is never ending. There's always going to be projects, there's always going to be work to be done. And it's like you have all these projects and their due dates and stuff like that. But after that, you still have something else. It's like it feels infinite almost. Um, so I think in a way, CrossFit has helped me and just like keep pushing through and keep pushing through and keep pushing through. And it's just like you can always do one more, you can always do a little bit more and that definitely helps, and also it's helped in the way that whenever you're done you feel so at peace as well, like nothing in the world like matters at that point. Like you died for a little bit, you get up and it's like all right, you're like resetting. um so yeah, but I think in terms of mindset of being able to keep pushing, I think CrossFit definitely has the advantage there compared to diving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is the goal for you now, since it looks like you're just going after it, is the goal to make it to the games for CrossFit?
Man, a lot of people have asked me that. Yes, I mean, of course, bottom line, yes. Like, it would be awesome to make it. It's very, 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 very tough.
Yeah.
I think so. The season, how it works is you do the open, and after that, you qualify for quarterfinals. After that, you qualify for semifinals, and after that, you qualify for the games. So in the open, there's about, I can't remember how many people signed up last year. About 300K people signed up last year for the Open. And out
Three
of those top 300,
three
yeah,
300,000.
1,000 people
Oof.
signed up for the Open. Yeah, all around the world. If not more, honestly, it might be even more.
Damn.
Um, and after that, they pick top 10%.
Hmm.
So the top 10%, so 30K, they qualify for the quarterfinals. Then after that, top 500 people qualify for semifinals. Is it top 500? No, top 150. So it's a
Damn.
little smaller. And then out of those 150, 42 qualify for the CrossFit Games. So out of those 300,000 people, 42 people qualify for the CrossFit Games per event. So men, women, and then masters and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's very competitive and everyone is so close to each other. It's like swimming whenever you like a sprint and swimming, like everyone's like point 0.1 or point 0.2 away from each other, you know. It's kind of like that same thing in CrossFit too. Everyone is just so close to each other. It's really hard at the same time, somewhat easy to, you know, overcome other athletes. So it's very competitive, but yes, like I don't do anything without giving my 100% on it. And if I do something, you know, I pretty much go all in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the goal. Will I make it? I mean, I believe in myself, but at the same time, I'm also a little realistic, and it's tough. It's tough.
Well, it's good to not be realistic about the future. Who knows, man? You could get worse.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I gotta work on that. I gotta just stay more positive for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as long as I keep showing up and doing what I'm doing, I think eventually I will get close for sure.
Yeah. I think the last we can end it after this, but the one thing I think about for CrossFit, and I think the utility in me, I was like, if I did CrossFit, what would be the utility in this? And have you ever heard of a masogi by any chance?
No, what is that?
It's like this uh, Japanese term for like doing something really hard, like once a year.
Hmm.
They call it like a masogi. Um, and I'm
Okay.
like, okay. Every time I think about a masogi and like the examples that I've heard, they're always like either endurance based or something like really hard. I'm like, damn, like the utility in being able to do so many different things because of CrossFit. And like, I think my masogi once I'm done diving is to just
Mhm.
go, hey, with no training, just because I want to challenge my mind, I'm gonna run a marathon. Like I'm just
Yeah.
boom, I'm gonna do it. And funny enough, Greg and Jordan don't believe me, and I told him I was like, dude, like the day after, or just the preceding few days after I'm done, let that be
Yeah.
after Paris or after Olympic trials. Give me like 2-3 days down, and I'll run a marathon. I'll just get it done. And so
Dude,
it's
heck
like,
yeah. I think you can do it. Just tape those knees, but I think you can do it.
and so that was kind of my thing with CrossFit. I'm like, dude, you'd be just so ready for any like Masogi esque thing because you're strong as crap and you've got the aerobic capacity of a monster. So it's like maybe I'll test it a little
Brian.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to. I want to. After CrossFit, I want to try triathlons and
Mm,
maybe do an Ironman. Because I think triathlons will be a little bit less harsh on my body. Um, I don't think it's gonna be as exciting, not gonna lie.
yeah.
I think it'll be good for me, and then try Ironmans and stuff like that afterwards. So I don't know, we'll see. So that's cool that you're trying to do your marathon after you're done with diving.
Yeah. Just one.
Yeah, just one.
Yeah. I
What
think
if it
just
goes
one.
well and you like it? A lot of people fall in love with running, dude. You'd be
Yeah.
surprised. I have a bunch of my friends who just started running for fun, just like work out and stay healthy, and they love it. And
Yeah.
they want to do marathons and they keep training, and so I don't know.
Yeah.
You might
I mean,
fall in love too.
it could be sick, but we'll see. Well, with that being said, maybe I'll have to catch you in the future doing a Masogi with me. But it
Yeah,
was
let's
great
do it.
having you on. It was great having you on the podcast, and we'll have to keep catching up with how you're doing when it comes to the next games that you're working towards.
Hell yeah, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for having me, man.
All right. Well, I'll catch you in the future very soon.
Yep,
All right.
for sure, man.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Peace.
Bye.